Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Moxxie Coaching podcast. My name is Michelle, and I'll be your host as we explore what coaching is and how it can help you create your best life. If you're anything like me, it's important to you to give back in some way. Maybe it's volunteering in the soup kitchen. Maybe it's donating $1 million to environmental research. It doesn't really matter. I started coaching and podcasting because I'm just one person who can only do so much alone. And I realized that through coaching and through podcasting, I could help and support those of you who want to do good works and exponentially increase the amount of good that I'm able to do. So if this sounds like you, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Be well. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Moxxie Coaching podcast. Today, in episode 31, we are going to be discussing 3 additional major arcana cards. We'll be talking about the Wheel of Fortune. We will be talking about Justice, and we will be talking about the Hanged Man. Beginning with the Wheel of Fortune. What do you need to know about the wheel? The wheel itself is one of those cards that is, if it comes up in the tarot, just in general readings, is usually kind of a big deal. And I say that because while all of the cards, especially in the majors, are important cards, they are cards that they sort of force us to examine our lives and who we are and how we're being, and ask us what we can do to become better. It's a cycle. It is a spiralic, infinite cycle. The card itself has a wheel of fortune, literally a spinning wheel that, like in the old carnival type of thing. So the idea is that you spin the wheel and you don't know what your fortune is going to be. And it's a lot like life, isn't it? Where we just have no idea. We can plan till we're blue in the face, and we can hope and we can dream and we can organize, but ultimately we don't have control over what happens to us. And that really is what the wheel is reminding us of. The card coming up almost always is about some sort of significant change that's going to be occurring. And I say that the tarot is not great at predicting things. And you can see here, it's not predicting what's going to happen, but it is giving you a heads up that there is something going on in your life or the life of the person that you're reading for that is due for a pretty significant change. Something is ending and something new will be beginning. Some people don't like to see the Wheel of Fortune card come up because they have heard that it's usually a negative card, right? It's a card, it's like, oh no, something's going to happen. My life is going to be changing, and I don't necessarily like that, and I don't know how it's going to change, so it makes me nervous. So if you can let that version or that interpretation go by the wayside, try to look at it like this. Yes, life is a cycle. Things come and go. We have phases in our lives. We have points in our life where things are going really well. We have parts of our lives where things are not going so well. And this card is not saying that things are not going to go well for you. Not at all. It's just saying, be ready for some sort of change. So questions that you might ask yourself when this card comes up: what is likely to be changing? It could be maybe you have really been struggling at work lately and you have not been happy and you've been considering starting to look for something else, and this card comes up. Well, this card might be asking you, is it time to finally leave that position? Is it time for you to start looking for something else that would be a better fit for you, that would be a pretty big change, but that would be something that's more positive for you in your life? It can be related to anything. It could be related to a job. It could be related to relationship. Maybe you are ending a relationship. Maybe you are just beginning an awesome new relationship. Perhaps you are expecting, and this card is coming up possibly because having a child, if it's your first one, is going to change your life. So it's not a negative thing, right? It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing to have a child. But it's saying, this card is saying, heads up, changes are coming. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, whatever it is that you need to do. If the situation that you're struggling with, maybe the situation that you brought out the cards to address in the first place, you might want to ask yourself this. Okay, so this is the Wheel of Fortune, and I have been pushing to get X done, or to move X project forward, or whatever it is. The fact that this card is coming up for you could be saying, you know what? Is this something that you really need and something that you really want? Or is it something that maybe it would be in your best interest to let go? Maybe this is a change that is prompting you, rather than to do something different or to take on something different, maybe to let something actually go. If the situation that you're in right now, and the reason that you chose to pull out your cards in the first place, has something to do with a difficult situation, and this card comes up, it's likely that this card is saying, yes, this situation is coming to an end. Your luck is going to change. Things are going to get better. So try to keep that in mind when this card comes up. Try to remember that yes, we're subject to the whims of the universe, but things are always changing. And if things are difficult right now, things will get better. And if things are great right now, enjoy them. Take the opportunity to enjoy them, because inevitably you're going to hit a rough patch. That's just how life works. So what I'm trying to say is, when this card comes up, but that rough patch is a temporary thing, and it's not going to last forever, and the wheel is eventually going to turn, and you will be up on top again. So, the tarot cards are not always telling us what we want to hear, but they are telling us what we need to know, right? So if this card comes up for you, take a look at where you are, where you want to be, and just take a look at what you might need to consider letting go and letting something come to an end so something new can grow in its place. The next card we're going to talk about is the Justice card. And the Justice card is fairly self-explanatory. The card itself shows a person sitting on a very rigid throne. In one hand, they have a sword, and in the other hand, they have the scales of justice. So this card is all about fairness, honor, balanced judgment, weighing the pros and cons of things, looking at something from all sides, thinking and behaving with rationality rather than through emotion. So who are some of the archetypes? My favorite, the notorious RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was a perfect archetype for justice. She took other people's needs and considerations into mind. She was thoughtful. She was able to weigh things out. She was able to look at the pros and cons and make a decision and move forward from there. A mediator, regardless of the situation, a divorce mediator, a business mediator, a legal mediator, someone who is there to bring two parties together to help create a fair and equal situation for both. And the other place you might see or another archetype, I guess is what I want to say, is this inner child and the sense of fairness that that inner child has. If you can remember being a kid and finally getting to the point where you realize that, holy crap, life is not fair, then that's an archetype, right? It's this, what the heck? This isn't fair. This isn't how I brought things. No, 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 no. This is not how it is supposed to be. So that is another type of archetype that could come up for you, or maybe it is you today. Maybe tomorrow you're something else. Okay. All right. So let's see. What are the questions that would be appropriate to ask, or at least some of the questions? Well, I think you might need to ask yourself, if whatever the situation is that's occurring, is there something that you need to be looking at around ethics with this situation? Because justice is all about fairness and balance. And is there something, maybe you're doing something that you hadn't really thought, but oh my gosh, now that you look at it, that could come across as a little sketchy, and that's not at all who you are. Or let's say you are watching the news and looking at everything that's going on in the world, and boy, is that a place for justice, right? To sit there, and it's a place also for that feeling of innate sense of lack of fairness in so many ways when you watch the news. So that's judgment coming up when you see something, and oh my goodness, Haitian refugees being sent back, or somebody being mean to a puppy. It doesn't matter, what end of the spectrum it's on. That's judgment. That is this, hey, that is not fair. This is not right. You need to reconsider and start looking at doing the right thing. So clearly you can ask this question: is the situation fair? Is this situation just? Is everyone getting what they need and what they deserve? And it's okay to ask the question, does someone need to face some justice? Whether it's an organization, whether it's a person, whether it's a socio-political system. Does someone need to face justice? Maybe this card is coming up for you because there's been a situation in which you've been wronged, and you need to step into that sense of justice for yourself, to step out of this place of victimhood and step into a place of, I know what's right and wrong. I know that I did the right thing. And that's really all that matters. The last one, not the last one, but the last one for now, is if you're in a situation where the justice card is coming up around some sort of compromise or some sort of disagreement, or something in which multiple parties need to be satisfied, then this is a good question. This is a good card to come up, because it's asking you, all right, is this a just situation? Is this a fair situation? Are both parties maybe not thrilled with it, but are both parties at least okay with it and satisfied that the situation is fair and the situation is just? So, whether it's your kids fighting over the last Tootsie Pop, or it is two nations fighting over land rights. It doesn't matter, right? It's all about justice, fairness, and doing the right thing. Lastly, we have the Hanged Man card. The Hanged Man card is an image of a man wearing, it depends on the deck that you look at. On one deck I have him, he's literally wearing tighty whities, but in most decks they're not quite as irreverent, and they're wearing some kind of, loincloth or something like that. But it is a man hanging upside down by his feet, often by one foot, with the other one sort of making the shape of a numeral 4. And this card is really all about sacrifice and self-sacrifice. This person is sacrificing themselves. They are hanging themselves upside down in an effort to show that they are willing to sacrifice. They're willing to be the bigger person. They're willing to try to let go of some control. Good examples? Yeah, the Dalai Lama. Again, these people come up. These are big cards. These are big energy cards, big idea cards, right? So when we get into the minor arcana, we won't have quite so much powerful and wonderful but intimidating to try to live up to role models. However, Martin Luther King is a wonderful example of a hanged man. The Dalai Lama, Gandhi, any spiritual, what's the word I'm looking for? Martyr-ish type of person, basically. Someone who is all about doing the right thing for the common good, and anyone who is willing to put themselves in a position where things might be harder because of what they're trying to accomplish, right? In a different context, you could also look at the hanged man. Let's say we look at it from a work perspective. And, maybe there is a project that the ball got dropped, and you are just going to take one for the team. You're going to say, hey, it was me. I screwed up. This is how I'm going to fix it. It could be changing the way you are living your life because someone in your household has become disabled. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to be a sacrifice, and it's a very worthwhile thing to do. So all of us want to have a hanged man hanging around with us to be that sacrificial lamb kind of thing. And honestly, I think that in a way, the hanged man is someone we should all aspire to be too. Someone who is far, far more about the end result, about the positivity, than they are about what it takes, what they have to give, or what we have to give to get to that point. So what are some of the questions? Well, number 1, are you being asked to make some sort of sacrifice? And if you are being asked to make a sacrifice, what is it? And are you willing to make that sacrifice? Maybe you have an opportunity to take a job across the country, and you really, really want this job, and your high schooler is in their senior year, and you choose not to take this job because it's more important to you not to disrupt your child's senior year of high school than it is for you to take a job that's going to feed your ego. That's a good example. Okay, so those are the types of things. You maybe will want to ask, are you coming to the realization that you need to make a sacrifice? Maybe it's coming up because there is something in your life that is moving you toward that. Maybe this is like a heads up. It's like, okay, what's going on? How is life changing? Is there something I need to be doing to make things better? Is there something I need to be doing willingly to fix this situation? You can also ask yourself if there's a situation that you've been trying to control that you just can't, right? I mean, how often do we do that? I don't like this. I'm going to control the shit out of it because if I can control it, I can manage it and I can keep my act together and I can deal. Well, you know what? Sometimes we just can't manage the shit out of everything. Sometimes things just happen and we need to let it go and we need to go with the flow. If you are familiar with the concept of dharma, that is, it's a great tie-in with the Hanged Man. A good example, did not go over well at the time. My first marriage, had my daughter. I had massive, massive baby blues, and she was a crier. And it was really, really hard for quite a while. And my ex at that point was over childhood, over children, over the responsibility, over all of those things. And he said to me at one point, he said, look, this is just your dharma. Just like this is my dharma to work through this or that, your dharma is to be here with this crying baby, and you just need to embrace it and recognize it. Well, you don't want to know what I said to that. Actually, I probably cried. That's probably what I did because I had the baby blues so badly. But that's dharma, right? That's the, okay, I'm in this situation. It's not going to be permanent. I just have to move through this situation with as much grace and kindness as I possibly can. So on that dharma train of thought, you might want to ask yourself, are you in a period of your life that is just simply requiring you to embrace your dharma? And if you can embrace that dharma, can it help prevent you from being miserable? To look at it as a temporary thing, we're getting into the whole Eastern religion thing here, but life is all about change. It's constantly ebbing and flowing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's difficult. And can you take a look at your situation and say, yes, this is where I am, and I'm doing these 3 things to make it better, and I know logically that wheel is going to swing around again, and I'm going to be in a place that I enjoy more in the future. I'm hoping that by now, if you have listened to the previous tarot card lesson podcasts, that you're starting to get more comfortable with the idea of forming and creating questions on your own. Again, please just use my questions and my explanations as a starting point. Because the tarot is such an intuitive tool and because it is a very personal tool, I want to make sure that you're recognizing that you're not taking my word or any other podcaster, tarot teacher, anyone's teachings. What do I want to say? Don't take our teachings as the be all and the end all, because there is no be all and end all in tarot. It's not a situation where there is an absolute anything. There's no absolute right or wrong. There is no absolute positive or negative. The tarot is, like life, shades of gray. Ooh, yeah, sorry. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. It is not a black and white thing. It is not like math or science or anything else where there is a concrete one and only correct answer. So the sooner you are able to get yourself into this place of being flexible with card meanings and looking at the card meanings from your own perspective and learning to ask questions of the cards based on your knowledge, I think that you will get a whole lot more out of the tarot than if you're someone and you approach it the way I did, which was, I approached it like a project. I approached it like I am going to have my flashcards and I am going to memorize this, that, and the other. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that I took that time because it gave me an excellent foundation. But I will say that learning to read the tarot the way I did was not the best way to cultivate the use of my intuition, because I wanted clear and concise answers. And I had to learn how to take the information that's offered in the card and figure out basically how it's applicable to my life and how I can work with it to create the best possible life that I can create. And so that's really what I'm hoping that you all can do, is to use these lessons as a starting point to give you a foundation on which you can build and create your own awesome self-coaching practice, where maybe the coaching, maybe your self-coaching is supplemented with therapy. Maybe your self-coaching is supplemented with personal coaching. Maybe you are just really working through some stuff on your own and you're doing this self-coaching for yourself. It really doesn't matter. I'm just glad that you're here, glad that you are learning, and glad that you are exploring, growing, and stretching and moving yourself forward. All right, that wraps up this episode. Next episode, we are going to talk about death, temperance, and the devil.